Hi, folks. Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. I'm going to depart a little bit from the normal sort of subject matter of the vids. I saw a vid on YouTube online, and it was about a woman, I suppose, in her late 20s, early 30s, or something like that. Fairly distraught that the guy that she was, she sounded more like a teenager actually, but the guy she was crazy about, she declared her affections for him, and he responded, perhaps a little bit, unsubtly, but responded that in fact he wasn't interested in her at all, and she should reconsider her position, and she was of course devastated by this. But this sort of comes into the wider question of, do we always notice if somebody feels that way, and maybe their affections are particularly ambitious, maybe they're realistic, maybe not, maybe somewhere in between. But if we don't realize it, but we somehow like them, well enough to sort of, have a cup of coffee or something with them, but nothing more. How do we let them know, assuming we even realize, and then how do we respond once they declare themselves and we go, holy shit, I didn't know that. And so this brings me back to a situation of my own, and this is what the video is about. It turns out it wasn't that long ago this particular lady died from cancer, so it's kind of was at the back of my mind anyway. And then when I saw that video, I'll do a little video on it. Again, quite a departure from my normal stuff, but this lady was a work colleague, and in terms of looks and physical appearance and all those sorts of things, she was the total opposite of what I would find attractive. You couldn't get more further over to the the unattractive side of things. In work that doesn't matter. If I'm out dating or something, that matters. But in work it doesn't. I don't care. I don't care what somebody looks like. We got on okay, and that was really all that mattered. And but she, unbeknownst to me, she'd sort of developed a bit of an infatuation, and because I was always pleasant and polite to her, and if she would say, oh look, I'm going out, say lunchtime or something, like, oh, I'm going out to get a sandwich or something, do you want to come? I go, oh yeah, if I wasn't doing anything, yeah, I'll come along, and we have a coffee sometimes, or and she was pleasant enough to chat to. I didn't dislike her at all. I couldn't imagine that she would have had designs on me. She was like this tubby little thing, 5 foot 1 inch tall, 152 centimeters or something. Nothing to look at. Just if someone had held a gun to my head and said, you got to fuck her, otherwise I'll shoot you, they'd have had to shoot me. It was like that. So. But in work and in that sort of scenario, it was always pleasant enough, and having somebody sort of pleasant and apolitical, if you like, to chat to, who isn't going to try and stab you in the back, or those sorts of things at work. That's always nice, and the tension, the work type, power ego tensions that may have been in other interactions, it wasn't in this case. So I was fine to have a coffee with her. For the time we worked together, I think I went to her place once, and I should have picked up on it. Maybe she said, oh, we're having a party, work party, why don't you come over? And I was kind of, that day or that time I was about, so I came over, and she, oh, look, no one's turned up. There's only going to be you and me here. And the penny should have dropped, because there's a couple of instances like that. And we went to a show. She had a couple of tickets for some difficult to get tickets as well for some show in town, and she said, well, she was going with her friend or something, but that fell through, and would I like the ticket? And So the ticket was a bit expensive. I said, no, I don't. She said, no, look, I've already paid for it. Don't worry. You come along. I don't want to go on my own anyway. And, I'm sure it's something you'd appreciate. And so I went along. But that was the extent of it. I think there was once at her place briefly. And I left after half an hour or so. And then that show. And then otherwise just cups of coffee, there's nothing more than that. So I can't imagine it was an infatuation could develop from such limited interactions. Sure, if you're getting hot and passionate, yeah, okay, I get it, but it had never developed into anything even close to that. So anyway, I was quite stunned when she one day she'd left, I think, at this stage that firm, and I was walking through like a food hall type thing and bumped into her, and then she said, "You got time for a coffee?" Yeah, sure. Again, I quite like to. She declared her affections and. Or as I used to say in the old language, the violence of her affections, meaning the intensity. So I was quite shocked by this, and hadn't had an inkling of it. Why would you think that I'd be interested in you physically? And I didn't say that, by the way. But so I had to sort of say to her, look, I'm actually. I do like you, but I'm happy to have a coffee with you, but that's as far as it goes. I've got no physical or sexual or otherwise interest in you at all. And there was some, even aside from that, logistics were bad. She'd been divorced and she didn't want custody of the kid the husband had. The husband decided he wanted to be turned gay, and so didn't want the kid around. So gave the kid back to her, and she didn't really want him, didn't suit her lifestyle, and it was very inconvenient. And so the kid was being passed around to various, nannies or something, I suppose you'd call it, or daycare type arrangements. And the logistics of it weren't sort of good anyway, and she was complaining, or had complained, sort of, that it was impossible to sort of develop relationships. Not many men were understanding enough for this sort of thing. So I don't know. Like I looked at, I had working for the corporation. I had a very good income at the time, and working for the man. And so anyway, I made it clear, look, I've got no interest in you at all. I don't like to say it's not. I possibly could have been a little bit more sensitive to it. And and around the same time, like as we were sitting down talking about this, a lady who I did know and who I thought was very, very sexy and hot, sort of came by and said hello, and I think it was fairly obvious to this little dumpy lady that I was sort of physically attracted to the other woman. So, but she was absolutely crestfallen and devastated, and I felt really bad about this. I don't want to inflict hurt on anybody, and it was never the intention to do it. And I hadn't realised that she developed this absolute infatuation with me, even though we'd done nothing more than sort of have a coffee every now and again. And I don't know how you can develop an infatuation with somebody on such limited interaction, but there you go. There it was. It's a bit like, I don't know, like a schoolgirl crush or something, maybe. But this was, for sort of a month, it's alleged for months, she sort of moped about in a state of ongoing devastation that her her advances had been turned down. And again, I don't know what basis, but I don't know how much of this goes on. A fair bit, I guess. I would more associate it with school kid crushes, but look, it seems to happen more and more amongst adults now. People in their 30s and 40s and so on, doing it as much as school kids might. Now, there's a number of people that we know who've been recently divorced. Women say mid 40s to early 50s type age range. Some of them still in quite good condition, by the way. They can still they still can squeeze into tight fitting swimsuits and that sort of thing. But their sort of travails in terms of they're mostly women, mostly my wife's friends actually. But they're the women that or the dating scene is such that they find the guys they like the most are the most elusive, possibly because they're in the most demand. And one lady that we know, again, who's a short, dumpy little thing, she insists on sort of the 6'2" tall Adonis male model, and then gets all disappointed and goes away and cries when the dashingly handsome 6'2" male model type thing isn't interested in the little tubby thing that she is. and we try and advise her to sort of reimagine the limitations that she faces. But it got me thinking about this idea of infatuation, not simply with people, but with ideas or with ideology and so on. And it requires that sort of level of infatuation. Climate change, that level of infatuation requires an infantile reckoning of the facts and the realities. Like me at my age wouldn't expect that a 20-year-old stunning beauty of a international fashion model would even give me the time of day, when I wouldn't even contemplate the possibility, let alone entertain it with any sort of seriousness. She can have any guy she wants. She's young. She's 500 million years younger than me, and this sort of thing. So when infatuation occurs, it requires a certain degree of blind emotion in anything, whether it be fixated on a person or again an ideology or all people are humans, and all children, all outcomes should be equal, and all that level of infatuation is something that denies all practical reality in order to hold the view. And when once one is reminded of that reality, it's a shattering experience, as it was for this woman who was infatuated with me. Doesn't mean that you don't feel bad when somebody is morose and apparently desolate by the loss of that cherished view that they held, or that cherished hope that they held. But how does one? And I think we're facing that in the Western world now, that we've had this mass sort of hypnosis, if you like, by the globalists and through the education system and the media, to get to have a whole class of people, millions upon millions of hundreds of millions of people infatuated with equity and equality of outcome and so on, which must deny all practical reality in order for that view to be held. Is there a similarity here? You've been with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.